recap video that the team just put out, you're always going over to the sideline after the guys make a big play. And it's not just a jab, it's not just a good job. You're giving them hugs. Why is that important to you to show them that type of love?
I can't help it. Probably being Italian, that's a tough. No, I grew up like that, man. The reality is, we're like that all the time. It's kind of the way it is here. It's the way I was raised, and I mean that sincerely. Like, probably just interact with people like that a lot. But yeah, I mean, I love coaching these guys, and we definitely have a brotherhood, you know, on this team and in that room, in the unit room. They're hard guys, you know, not to enjoy being around, and they're really just a bunch of great dudes, and that's really kind of the culture here.
When you got to prepare for 3 quarterbacks and they all kind of play the game a different way,
yeah,
how does that kind of change your prep week?
You just sleep less, pretty much. No, but no, yeah. There's you know 3 different guys who, when you watch them, have all done a good job, and coached against Fields and Taylor before, so both of those guys are really, I mean, they're elusive in there, and they've both done a really good job. And having coached against them in games past, you know, they made it hard on us. So I got a ton of respect for those guys, and I thought they did, you know, a good job rallying in the game the other day against Miami, and you know, did a bunch of good things also, you know, with the young guys.
How beneficial is to have that game of Cook? Because there was nothing before.
Yeah, just to be able to see him, for sure. You know, see him operate against the Dolphins the other day. I thought he did a good job. He hung in there, made some really good throws, and you know, kind of got them going as the game progressed. So, but that was really important to be able to watch him a little bit.
What?
Matt Dickerson got up 32 snaps last week. How much has he come along? What has he provided here for him?
He's a great story because he's a guy who's just gotten better every day, and I mean that like throughout his career. You know, he's progressed a ton, and really, you know, when you watch Matt and really watching him in practice, that's really for us. We're like, man, he's done such a great job. Even when he was playing scout defense, he was getting after it, competing every play, and that kind of gave us an even better look at him. You know what he's capable of doing. He's been able to do that out there in the games on Sundays for us. So. Credit to him. I mean, a lot of the work that he put in and jumped out to us throughout the season, and that's why he's out there and why I feel like he's having the success he's been having to this point.
What did it say about Trayvon just to get himself ready for that game last week? What did it mean to have him back?
Yeah, he's a huge boost for us, obviously emotionally, you know, and physically. Trey's a guy, like, if he can play, he's going to play. You know, he's not looking to miss any time. He's doing everything he can to get ready. And he's played through a lot this year in particular, you know, his wrist, his knee, everything. He's a great dude. I know I've said that a million times up here, but he's what we really want to be on this team, what we want to be about. You know, tough guy, does his job, loves his teammates, plays with emotion. I think one of the things that jumped out to me about Trey the other day was him turning and running to the ball. You know, perimeter plays, him turning and, you know, trying to strike somebody, you know, as hard as he can within the confines of the rules, and you know, play good, clean football. But he sprints around every play, and we value that tremendously.
And what do you like about the times that you guys have been able to put him inside, kind of over the guards? What do you like about those snaps that you can see from him?
Yeah, I think with Trey, moving him around, he's one of those guys where he's got so much flexibility, because the thing about Trayvon, you could play him anywhere from a 3 technique out to a 9 technique, and you see, like, we drop him into coverage. He's about as talented as I've ever been around. You know, he can play defensive tackle. He plays 4 technique and does a great job on the tackle. He can play head up on the tight end, and you feel like you got an advantage there, and he can play as wide as a 9 technique. So moving him across the front has been something that's really helped us, not only in the pass game, but in the run game this year. And certainly in the pass rush, we feel like he can create matchups for us, and we can get him, you know, aligned with Josh or aligned with Eric or aligned with somebody else where maybe we can manipulate what we want with the protection.
Coach, Devin Lloyd makes a play on the very first play from scrimmage on defense. Talk about the instincts as a linebacker for him to come out there and do something like that.
It's a great word, because that's exactly what he has. He has really good instincts, man. He, you know, a lot of that, though, I would say for Devin comes from the work he does. It's pretty tedious throughout the week. You know, even if you watched him in walkthroughs, his footwork, his hand placement, where his eyes are. They're not really bouncing around. So, if you were to stand behind the offense and watch him, I think his eye progression is really, really good every play. That jumps out to me in preparation. If he's entering into a block, he's entering near foot, putting himself in a position to be hairline under chin and strike with his hands, so he can come back and finish the play and tackle the football. So he's repping those things at all times, whether it's the individual work, the walkthrough, going into practice in the live setting, and then he's been able to take that out there on Sunday. So it's really, yes, he's got tremendous instincts, but he's building that every day in the film room and out in the field. So it's great to see him be rewarded for that.
You got Eric Murray back this week. Got in and made a huge forced fumble right there. I just look at you guys going back to training camp and you guys working that punching drill. Is it muscle memory at this point with these guys forcing these fumbles?
You hope so. You hope it's getting to the point where it's just something you do. You see somebody walking down the street and you want to punch their wallet out of their hand or something. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just, that's your natural reaction. But there is a culture of that here, and the guys do that. I would say like the coaches, our position coaches have done an unbelievable job in the pre-practice, in the post-practice, and in the drill work of, just getting the guys mindful of that, ending drills with that all the time. And I really credit the players, honestly, for their stick-to-itiveness of it, and the coaches of never relenting on it and trying to make sure it's, because at the end of the day, it's really about how many attempts you get. Your percentage of success is going to go up exponentially. If you're taking, the more attempts you take, the more options you're going to get a takeaway.
Danny Strigout's been sort of picking it up over the last few weeks in terms of snaps. Just what have you guys seen from him?
Yeah, he's and you guys can see it when he plays. He's a hard charging guy. He's a guy that plays with great fundamentals. He's doing what he's been coached to do, what he's being coached to do every day, and his effort jumps out. His effort jumps out, and I think his teammates really appreciate that about Danny. He's put so much work into this to get to where he is, and he's earned everything, which I think the guys really respect and value that about Danny too.
The shuffle.
He's not the biggest guy, but it seems like he's able to do everything against the run. Just how impressed have you been by that?
Very impressed. I would credit Matt Edwards, Derek LeBlanc, those guys who worked with him, and I think Danny was well coached when he came in here from college. But to me, guys like that is so much about your mindset. He is unrelenting on himself to get it right, and you see that. That's kind of what jumped out in camp watching him, and in the offseason. He's a guy that wants to get it right, going to do everything he can to get it right, do the extra, and it's paying dividends for him. But so much of that is, I don't want to say how hard he is on himself, but how much he demands from himself is probably a better way to say that.
The shuffle in the secondary. Last week it was getting Eric Murray back, but not having Dewey. What does it say about, the guys you have in the safety and cornerback room that you're able to kind of shuffle pieces and everybody kind of keeps the standard?
Yeah, I thought Antonio did a great job. He has done a great job, I should say, and he's a guy that's really got a lot of position flex because he's out there sometimes playing safety, playing nickel, playing dime, playing linebacker type roles too. So he's a bright guy because that's a lot of techniques that we ask him to play. It really is when you go through it. And he's a guy that's up in here in the office all the time trying to do extra. Rayon Lane, I thought, jumped in and did a bunch of good things over that period, and even the other day. So it says a lot about them, but it also says a lot about the older guys who prepared him. You know what I mean? They kind of embraced him and brought him in to try and teach him and get him right, and are always working. They're all always working together, is what I would say. It's a huge part of that.
Your run defense has been really strong this year, but Brees Hall, obviously talented back. What type of maybe different challenges does he bring as a runner?
Yeah, I've coached against him before when I was in Miami. I got a ton of respect for him as a runner. He's made big plays in the run game and the pass game, and he's done that through his career. So I've seen firsthand how good of a player the guy is. I said this about a couple guys previously in weeks prior, but he's hard to tackle. There's got to be a team tackling mentality, and their offensive line, in my opinion, has done a great job this year. They do a great job staying on the down guys, moving people on double teams. Josh Myers, the center, he was in Green Bay with me last year, so I've been around him a lot, know how talented he is, how capable he is. Both tackles and guards, I think, are physical. I think the young tight end Taylor has done a really good job for them, and Rucker has always been a guy who's been a POA guy that's a finisher. He's a good football player. So they got a lot of guys, even when they bring Beck in as a fullback, they got a lot of guys who finish blocks, and they've done a really good job in the run game as well, so credit to them. And it's going to be a challenge out there on Sunday, and we're just trying to get these guys prepared to meet that challenge.